live. It seems like the meeting is being live streamed. Yes. Well, hopefully we're going to see each other. It's the first time, folks, if you can see us here on the YouTube channel. Hello. Hello.
Live streamed.
Let's see.
Well, hopefully we're going to see each other. It's the first time, folks, if you can see us here on.
I wonder, can you hear me, Vivian?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yes, beautiful. So I just closed YouTube because it's the first time we're doing it streaming live. I mean, on YouTube, and I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited that Vivian, my special guest today, accepted this invitation to be the trailblazer
Trailblazer.
Yes, trailblazer. Okay, let's officially start. Guys, we are here listening and watching Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. This is the place where I interview experts in different fields to get our affairs in order, get our life in order, and whether that's personal or business or combined, especially if you are in the entrepreneurial space, that's what we're going to do. And of course, get inspired, re-inspired, and refueled. And today, my beautiful guest for today's show is Vivian. And Vivian, please help me to pronounce your last name. Is it Schweizer? Schweizer.
Exactly. I am known as Vivian Juste, but I'm married now, right? And it's Vivian Schweizer. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we're going to be talking about grants. And
yes.
This is a very, very fascinating topic for a lot of folks, including myself.
Correct.
But before anything else, before we dive into how to get grants and who they're for and all these other questions that you might have, and definitely I do, let me read the official bio, just a little snippet from Vivian's official bio. So Vivian Schweizer founded Everything Grants as a resource to nonprofit and for-profit entities. Through her organization, she provides professional development leadership training for groups and individuals, guidance for startups, grant research, writing, and management, or to diverse organizations. With her guidance and expertise, visions become reality for individuals and organizations in achieving successful impact. And I love that. There's so much more to that. But before anything else, let me just add my personal flavor to who Vivian is as a person. I always say that we don't ever join businesses, we join people. And I got to know Vivian as a beautiful, not only professional, I mean, she's a true pro in what she's doing. And beyond, if we go beyond that on a personal level, she's just the love and the light itself. She's so giving to everybody who comes her way, so generous with her advice, and so understanding that it's just a pleasure and joy to be around her. And it's a person of complete integrity. So with that, Vivian, thank you so much for being on the show and agreeing to be the trailblazer. I love it how both of us are wearing red. We did not talk beforehand. No, this is spontaneous.
I don't think I have worn red in months and months. And this was the day I put my hand on this red sweater. So yeah, we're already in sync. We were in sync before today. I want to thank you for inviting me to this platform. And I look forward to answering questions and look forward to the questions that are going to come after we get through speaking here today. Yes.
Absolutely. So let's dive in. The first question is always the same because the program is called Dream Big. And what is your big dream? And it could be more than one.
All right. My big dream, I feel like a teacher in a classroom. Every doctor, every neurosurgeon started learning his ABCs or whatever letters are part of their language. They started learning how to put words together. And I want to see the organizations that I help become doctors and neurosurgeons and just experts in their craft. So what I am able to do is when organizations or individuals come to me with their vision, and I start to see it with them and help give them the pieces that they need to make that a reality. I'm done after that. But it's always great to hear back from them how they've expanded. They bought a new building, they expanded their services to another state. And for that, I feel like the teacher, the kindergarten teacher who started the neurosurgeon or the biochemist with just putting those first three words together. And that for me is the dream, to just get those reports and get those reminders and updates from the organizations and individuals I'm able to help.
This is beautiful.
Yes.
You remind me, I would even say you're planting seeds. Yeah,
That's it.
You're
That's it.
like a farmer. Yes, and I know you've done so much already, and we can dive right into that. But before
Okay.
into these organizations that you already worked with, and I know you worked with so many just prominent people, individuals, and teams who are doing incredible work in the world, like
Right.
violence and self-care, right? And all of that. We will get into that. My
Okay.
question before this: what sparked your interest initially in doing the work that you're doing? What's
Okay.
the story?
All right. Well, as a child, I did not realize how much I benefited from some grants, right? I participated in organizations like 4-H, and I
What is
got my
4-H?
4-H. Now, I don't remember what the 4-H's are, but it's a national organization primarily teaching youth how to lead, how to use natural resources, how to respect it, how to understand natural resources. We did a lot of learning about agriculture and learning how to give and how to do for others. And I think I was about maybe 10, when I first started with 4-H. And as I grew older, I realized that there were organizations that depended on funding from a variety of sources so that they could be able to continue what they're doing. I'm gonna throw another name out there, although I've never been a member, the Boys and Girls Club of America, that's popular. The American Red Cross is popular. The Salvation Army, all of these organizations, Habitat for Humanity, believe it or not, even Blue Cross Blue Shield, many of those are nonprofits that provide services, but for them to be able to provide services, they have to be in a position to apply for, receive, manage these funds, and then deliver the services that they're providing to communities, to individuals, to special populations. And my very first grant, I think, was probably about $1,500 that I wrote for.
Oh,
that I
you
wrote
wrote for,
for.
not that you received.
No, that I wrote for.
Mhm.
I was leading a community-based organization, and they had a parent organization, and that parent organization was providing funding, but you had to fill out an application.
Mhm.
And although I had studied grant writing on the graduate level, my graduate degree is in public administration, actually putting your hands on paper to go through the process was a whole different experience. And so I remember, how stressed I was about that first grant. And I was successful in getting the grant for the amount that I requested.
Nice.
Right. And so I applied those monies to the youth programs that we were providing at that organization. And then it led to identifying sources of funds, whether they were civic organizations, governmental entities. At that time, it wasn't federal grants, other nonprofits, places like the Rotary and Lions Club, which are popular, that not only do they offer sometimes funding, but they also offer what's called in-kind, and we can talk about that later, in-kind to support, to assist in getting a project done. And so I started, getting stronger in it, in the grant writing. And then I took on a role where I led an organization that was based in providing services for victims of crime. And those victims were those of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse. And then later on, we added suicide intervention and prevention. And to provide these services and to keep my staff, paid, and to expand the programs that we were offering, they all needed money. And it was up to me to find that money.
Yes.
And so I'm no longer applying to a parent organization who may have empathy with me that I'm providing services that they know of already. But now I am approaching groups and individuals who may or may not know what we're doing. I've got to show them evidence of what we're doing. I've got to invite them. I've got to court them. I've got to provide the outcomes that I promised I was going to provide, and so on. And so it just became something that I had to do for survival of not only my organization, but my staff and the programs that we were providing. Sometimes, we would apply for monies, be promised the monies, and then the monies didn't show up on time, sometimes months later. And how do you maneuver? How do you keep things going in that situation? So that's kind of where I started, actually loving something that many people see as tedious and time consuming. It became something that I just started getting very, very good at. And
so
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No.
You just light up when you talk about doing
I
it.
know.
And,
Who does that? Nobody wants that type of pressure, but I don't know. It works for me.
it works for you, exactly.
Yes.
So what part is this? Is it like you love you as a person, Vivian? You love every step of the process, or you love particular parts of the process? Like for you personally, what is that source of inspiration? Because I would be, if you told me, Zhanna, go write the grant yourself, I'm like, I would rather write another song,
What I like about it is what I know is already happening, and that inspires me to continue to write or to propose so that program, or those, in that case it was victims of crime, can continue to be served. Without the money, you can't continue with the programs. Without the programs, you can't serve the population. Without that, now you have an increase in persons who are being victimized. You have places now that are closing down that used to be safe havens for persons. So that's the inspiration. That's the motivation of, sitting on the floor sometimes with loads and loads of papers around me, and the outcomes and the budget and the performance measures, and right down to attendance records. And because the funder, it depends on who the funder is. They ask for, one funder may ask for a set of details, another funder may not ask for. And anyway, so that was my background in getting to the place where I had a conversation with a dear friend who asked me if I started my business yet. I told her, no, I'm still doing this, on the side. She said, you need to start a business doing this. And
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for her push, because within about maybe 45 days, my business was up and running, website going. Folks, who already knew the quality of work I was doing were coming and knocking on the door. But what I found was persons who would come to me and ask for appointments, ask for a consultation, and they were not grant ready. They were not funding ready. And so the task became now, how do I help these persons and therefore these organizations become funding ready? And so I ended up adding another component to my offering because there was a need for that.
Beautiful. So can you give us any tips, like how do they know, and who? It's going to be a twofold question.
Right, no problem.
Because it's very common, because people think, number one, it's and I hope it's a myth, and you can talk into to that grants are only available for nonprofits. This
Untrue.
is Untrue, exactly. So we can, so who the grants are for? So if you, could you speak to that? And the second one, how do you know, or what do you need to have in place to be grant ready? Like you
Okay.
said.
Traditionally, grants are available to nonprofits because nonprofits, they have a status with the government that allows them to receive monies and apply them directly to to support the services and programs that they're providing. However, there are organizations or foundations also that will support for-profit entities. It depends though on what they're offering, what type of services they're offering, what population they're serving. For example, a nonprofit that is serving persons who are struggling with substance abuse issues. They are dependent on fundraisers, they are dependent on donations, they're dependent on hopefully on grants or there are other types of funding that they don't have to pay back. That's kind of what grants are. They're funding that you don't have to pay back. Some grants require a match. For example, if you're applying for $20,000, the grantor may want you to have a match of $5,000. Or they may want you to have, if you're applying for 20, they may want you to have a $20,000 match as well. But the grantors are very specific in their request for proposals, RFP, that will indicate to you all that you will need to have or to be prepared to have before you apply for the grants. When it comes to for-profits, I'm going to give an example. COVID-19, it kind of just changed the universe, of course, but it changed the way companies saw for-profit entities. For example, there was money available and probably still are, it depends on the communities that you're in, for hairstylists.
Seriously?
For an example, let's just say Zhanna and a group of her friends say, you know what? So-and-so stylist has had to close as a result of COVID, and we don't want them to go out of business. So together, we're going to do fundraisers, and we're going to put together some money, and we're going to have our local hairstylists apply for this money so that we can help them in paying their rent, because they're still going to have to pay rent maybe for their location, even though they're not able to see clients. All right. And so you put together, you were able to, pull together some money. You came up with $10,000 and you invited your hairstylist to apply for that money. Wow. They are for profit, but there was a special circumstance that allowed persons to widen their scope and their ideas as to how to support private entities. Bartenders, for example, there was money available for bartenders.
I did not know
yes,
that.
Yes, there were monies for example, but then the group that got together, or the maybe the liquor companies, I don't know, that got together, they had their requirements. You had to be a bartender for at least 2 years with evidence, proof of that. You had to be working at a set establishment for a certain period of time, maybe, and then you had to apply for the monies by a certain date. Maybe the monies were only $3,000, but it would be $3,000 towards maintaining your rent, because now you're not able to work at that bar. And when the doors open up again, or as we say, when outside has reopened, people want to go back to their favorite watering hole. They don't want it to close. So yeah, the people were getting very creative as to how to create grants for for-profit entities. And even on the federal end, there were monies available. There was the PPE protection monies and so on. And all of those came out of a need to help keep industry going.
Yes. Is there a minimum? There is no, it's like listening to you, there is no minimum, it sounds like this, for the amount that they can apply for. Or...
Well, the grantor is going to decide for you in advance and let you know what's available, what you can apply for, what's the maximum, what's the minimum amount, and what's the ceiling, meaning the maximum that you can apply for. The grantor may say these funds are only available to persons in California, New York, and Texas. They may say they're only for persons within the state of North Carolina who are operating this type of business or that type of business. And then to answer your question, your second question about being funding ready. Before applying for grants, I guide my clients in at least documenting what they have already done, what they have been doing, who they have been serving, what have been the age groups of the persons they've been serving, what time of year, where did they provide what they provided, how many people attended. Because even though you've never applied for a grant before, the grantor may have those types of questions. Grantors have even gotten to the point where they're asking for your social media link. They want to know how many followers you have on, good or bad. They want to know. One, they may not want to fund an establishment that's large. They may want to help an organization that's just starting out. So you may or may not know why they want your LinkedIn account or why they want your Facebook account link, but they know what they're looking for. Sometimes through their RFP, but usually you don't know that. You find that out as you go through the application process. So being grant ready, I have certain things I ask for. Are you current with your Secretary of State in terms of what you need to do or what you need to have in place to be an official business? Are you current with your reporting to the IRS? Do you have your 990s or your whatever other W-2s filed with the IRS? Do you have a business account? Do you have, if you're a nonprofit, do you have an active board of directors? What roles do they play? How long have they been on your board? Questions like that may come up in an application, but if you haven't been keeping record, you can't complete the application, and therefore, you may not get those questions until page 24 of your application, and you've already started and put in the effort, but now you realize you can't go forward with that application. There's no point in submitting the application without the components that the grantor has asked for. It's basically a waste of time.
So that brings me to another question. How do you work? Instead of somebody thinking, oh, it's really great, let's go get the funding. What do you need from them, or what do you recommend, especially with the way you work? Because Vivian, you know what you're doing, and I trust you 100%. In fact, I'll just complete disclosure. I am one of Vivian's clients at the time. Yes. And we are in the process, and I love this initial intake form, because without you, I wouldn't know that I need to have this and this and this and this and this, in place before we can even look at what's available.
Absolutely.
Right? So tell people what it is.
And so that's how I work. I send what I've named a fact finder, because it gives you an opportunity to tell me a bit about your organization, the state you're in, the states that you serve, because you may be operating out of one state, but you serve, internationally or nationally. How long have you been in business? The grantor may not want to fund someone who's been in business less than 2 years. Maybe you started your business, but you didn't, you were operating, but you didn't actually register with the IRS until a certain date. There might be some allowance for that. These are questions that you would call, I may have the access, or I will have the access for the grantor. And usually there's a window of opportunity for you to ask questions. There's some technical assistance available. There are webinars that you can go to. They have frequently asked questions that you can get on their website, so I can find out the information, do that type of research for my client. So when I send out the fact finder, I'm sending out the general questions that I encounter on a regular basis. There may be more specific to this funder. There may be less. It might be a 2-page application. It might be a 28-page application. It might be a 80-page application. I don't think I've done 80 pages. I've done about 60 plus. page application, right? They want your operating budget for your organization. They want your programmatic budget for the program that you are proposing to receive this money for. So you have your organization, and your organization has 3 or 4 or 5 programs, but you're applying particularly for this particular program. They want your budget. They want to know if you have monies already set aside to assist in this program, or if all the money is going to come from them. They want to know if you receive this $50,000 that's going to run for a period of 2 years, what is your plan for after 2 years? Or is it that all the clients that you have served and brought to your organization through their funding are now going to be lost and wondering because you aren't able to continue providing for them? So all of that goes into the proposal, and it's similar to applying for a job. They want your application, not just your resume. They want you to complete their application. They want your resume, and they tell you everything has to be in 11 font and Times Roman and 1-inch margins and all of that, all of those specifics, and they mean it. Because what happens is, if the funding is available and 500 people apply, they have to weed out the ones
who are not following.
who are not following directions. So now they only have 100 applicants. And from those 100 applicants, they may divide 20 per person or per review team to look at, and each person gets to choose 2 applications. And then they come back together, and then they review them and decide on which is the most compelling, who's going to have the most impact, the longest sustainability, how it impacts the environment long term, depending on what the funding is for. So they have a lot of decisions to make, and so they need for persons to, and not only that, because if you're not following directions to the T with the application, chances are you're not going to be able to follow directions to a T with the reporting expectations that they are going to require of you. And that's another component. Some funders, they kind of continue to fund organizations that they already know have proven that they're able to provide the grantor what they want. So they may be hesitant on new applicants, all right? But let's just say I've been receiving funding for the last 5 years. But for whatever reason, I decided, I don't want to continue this program. My board and I have decided we have ended hunger in our state, and we no longer need. Dream big, dream big, dream big. Dream big. We have ended hunger in our state, and we no longer need the funding for feeding the hungry. So we're going to send a letter to this funder and say, thank you for the 5 years of supporting our program. We have met our mission with this program, and we no longer need the funding. So now there are openings maybe for new clients to apply for this money. And the funder is now looking for new homes for their funding. And so even though a funder may have their set 10, 15, changes happen. Organizations close, goals are met, and as a result, monies become available.
I see. Yes, beautiful. I mean, it just the reason I'm so passionate about this is because it opens the doors to everybody who is in business, or even at the beginning, like the first year in business. And you were saying, from what I'm hearing, the funding is available. And by the way, Vivian, I think it's very, very important to get the distinction, because you always correct me. Grants and funding. So could you please explain to people, to everybody, for all of us, what's the difference? Because when we think grant, right, that's what is stuck, at least like for the majority of people, right? When we think funding, we think grants, but it's not necessarily. So your take on that?
Right. Your grant is very specific. There is a request for proposal. You submit your proposal. It might, the grantor may only want what's called a LOI, or letter of interest, from the organization. You send a letter of interest, and from that, they invite you to apply for a grant. The grant is the application, the funding, and everything that comes after that. When I say funding, I use the term because I don't want persons to think that we're only looking for grant monies. We're looking for grant monies. We're looking for monies from foundations. We're looking for scholarships. We're looking for in-kind. We're looking for matching funds. We're looking for a range of monies that are going to come in and be able to be used to provide services, to provide programs, to provide support to what your business is offering. So grants, yes, I just don't like using the term grants on my side, because I work beyond grants.
Yes.
I work beyond grants. And when I say in kind, if you apply for a grant for $20,000, you can purchase 20 computers with the $20,000. But if you apply for support or in kind from an organization to give you 20 computers, you may not apply for a grant, but you're applying for them. You're putting in an application for them to give you $20,000 worth of computers. So the in kind is the actual product, but the product has a value. All right. It could be time. It could be expertise. It could be that there's an attorney who is interested in providing in-kind legal advice to an organization to a value of $5,000. Again, you can get the money from somewhere to pay for legal advice, or you can have an attorney who's going to give you the in-kind value of $5,000 of legal advice. It comes up to be not the same thing, but you're getting the same results.
It seems like it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. That's why we come to professionals to do this. But it's so promising. It is so promising that the bottom line is funding is available.
Yes.
For everybody with a cause. If there is a cause you want to serve, the funding is available. It's just a matter of whether you want to do it yourself or come to Vivian. In this case, by the way, can you please share how everybody can find you?
Well, you can find me online. My link, my website is www.everythinggrants.
I love that.
Because you have to put that S on there, everythinggrants.com. On there, you can make an appointment with me for a no charge consultation. Or if you have already identified funding and you want to discuss that, I can take a quick look at it and get a sense, or maybe you've already done the vetting and know that this is a perfect grant for you. And then we can start right there. If you already know that you meet the qualifications that the grantor is requiring. I warn my clients about trying to fit a circle in a triangle.
And could you tell more?
Yes, because if the grantor is looking for someone to make balls, and specifically baseballs, and your business is golf clubs, don't apply for the grant. You're wasting your time. Unless you're going to establish a whole new department in your organization to make baseballs, and you better have all the pieces that you need and the expertise to make those baseballs. It doesn't mean you can't. It just reduces your likelihood of being successful, because your grantor wants to know that that is already your expertise, or at least you have some experience in the area that you're applying for the money for.
That is amazing. What's your favorite success story?
Okay. Yes. Let me think. Okay. I was leading an organization and we were dependent on a variety of funding. And it's another thing I tell my clients, diversify your funding. Do not rely on any one type of money. Do not, or else you're going to end up in a bind. So I was about maybe 2 years into running the organization, and there was some good sized money that was supposed to come our way, and we had run into some problems nationally. We had run into some problems, and there were a lot of grants that were being held up. And to make a long story short, I didn't know that a former board member had bequeathed a part of her estate to our organization. And we were really sad. We thought that we were not going to be able to meet our obligations. We were going to have to close our agency down at some point. And this money was there. And we were able to not only receive this money, it also came in at around the same time that the monies that we had been waiting for had come in. And it was a perfect example of having a variety of streams of money flowing in, so that when one was slow or delayed, another one was available. Or having fundraisers, regular fundraisers that community knows that you're going to have, so that they can put it in their calendar and be prepared. So we were able to not only receive that money, we were able to meet all our obligations, we were able to buy some property, name that property after the person who left us in their will, which is another area of resource development or finding money, is something called, and I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden, but I'll come back to it. It's called planned giving, where persons prepare in advance to donate their monies upon their passing, donate funding. So having a variety of streams of money to keep your organization going is wise. So that's one of my favorite stories, to be at the edge of wondering, are we even going to keep our doors open? But having options beyond any one type of funding was able to keep us going. The organization is still going strong. The building is named after the person who named us in their will. And I have the story to tell.
Oh, that's a beautiful. And may I ask you if that's okay, how much the funding was? Because I remember you mentioned that in one of the stories, and it's pretty sufficient number.
It was she left $1 million to be shared between 3 organizations. So ours was a third of that. Yeah. And our concerns at that time was under $100,000. So it was able to handle that, and then put some money towards purchasing a property, and put some money for a rainy day fund for our organization. So we, the next time we ran across a situation like that, we didn't have as many concerns as we did at that time. Yeah.
I see. Well, I just, Vivian, don't you agree that people who have the abundance mindset, that money is available at all times, they can get into any type of work that you do, or any pursuit of happiness, or beyond that, right? Whatever they want to do with the cause. If there is a cause that is bigger than them, that the money is always there.
The money is there, but I liken it also to applying for a job, a position. There are 500 applicants, and maybe there are three positions. So vetting the funder's request very closely to make sure that that's something that you want to put the energy and the time and the money into applying for that role. When it comes to applying for jobs, people hire human resource experts, they hire headhunters, but they're also looking to make sure that you're a match, that you're a good fit for a job. They're not just applying for everything that comes up. They want to make sure that it's a match. Same thing with an organization. Vet your grant or funding opportunity closely to make sure that you're a match to increase your chances, your likelihood of being successful.
Beautiful. What are your personal values?
Integrity, commitment. What is for me? Care for family. I'll have to stick that in as a value. That's very important to me. And keeping my word. Keeping my word.
Yeah, integrity. I know. It's no wonder you put it as number one. And this is not scripted. So everybody, no, this is not scripted. Who would you say is the best teacher for you in life?
I would say my mother. And I would say my mother, who when she describes it, she says she went as far as the 3rd grade, the equivalent of the 3rd grade in an island, a French island in the Caribbean. She's a woman that has shown me that you can take very little and make much with it. There's a scripture, a Bible story about the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes.
Go for it.
And the ability to feed multitudes with a little amount. And so my mom taught me that. And so that goes with me for everything, whether it be in my business. If someone comes to me and they are saying, listen, I don't have the knowledge, then I have no problems with sharing what I can. If someone says to me, I want you to teach me grant writing, that's something I can't do, because it's the experience. I think my first grant was maybe in 2004, was my first small grant. And I've been writing grants, several a month, several a week, I should say, since then. And so it's, to me, I don't know, somebody can sit with me and we can go through it together. But in terms of a curriculum and I haven't gotten to that point yet. It's one of those things where it's hands-on. You're kneading the flour. You kind of know when the flour is done kneading because of your experience. And that's kind of how it's been for me with the grant writing. But I love sharing. I love knowing that my information that I've learned along the way can help someone else or an organization to stay afloat and to provide the support to the population, whether it be teen pregnancy or the opioid issues that we have, or homelessness or housing. If those things can be met by something I've shared, I sleep better at night.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you have such a big heart, just beautiful big heart. Thank you so much. There's so many more questions. So you guys can hear, can feel it, right? From what Vivian has been telling us about grants and grant writing and getting funding and the difference between grants and funds. I hope you're getting value. I would be we together would be interested what really stood out for you. And if you have more questions, please, by no means, let us know, and you can reach out Vivian directly.
Yes,
it's sure. everythinggrants@gmail.
That's my email. Yes, that's my email.
Or or her website, Everything Grants with the S, everythinggrants.com.
Absolutely.
Please also leave a comment below. And Vivian, what did you want to say about this first 10 people who would send you the link of the video?
If the first 10 people who send me the link of this video, I will provide them my popular myths about grants. You would be surprised as to myths that are out there about grant monies or funding. So the first 10 people who contact me either by email or on my website, there is a button that says book me. And if you click on book me, you can find a way there to send me an email, include this broadcast, and I will count you as one of my first 10, and I will send you the information.
Yes.
Popular myths about grants. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Any other, before we're gonna end the show today, any words of wisdom from Vivian?
Yeah, two things. It's there are for-profits that are not certain that they can be in a position to receive grants as a nonprofit. And you actually cannot, but there are many for-profits who have a nonprofit component to them. And that puts you in a position to not only apply for-profit funding, but also nonprofit funding. And that's something we can discuss further if you reach out to me, and I can give a little bit of guidance on that.
My
All right.
goodness.
So that's that's a whole other
universe,
chapter.
another universe. Yes.
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 Well,
and another thing I'd like to say is I learned also from Mr. Rogers
and his neighborhood.
that whenever there is a crisis, there are always helpers. To look for the helpers. Even as a result of COVID, as damaging as it has been, and as much as it has impacted our lives, there are new developments as a result of COVID. We're doing Zoom every day, all day, and we're able to connect with each other as a result of COVID. So while you're looking for the helpers, look for the new opportunities, because it also generates new funding. It generates new programs that are needed, or that people didn't realize were needed, or are needed as a result of the disaster, whether it be a natural disaster or a virus, as we're seeing now. So while you're looking for the helpers, look for the funding. They're out there. It's out there.
You're amazing, Vivian. Thank you. You've been watching and listening to Dream Big with Zhanna, inspiring you to reignite, refire, and refuel your life. And today, my special guest was the amazing, the one and only Vivian Schweizer.
That's it.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome.
Subscribe to this channel. Share this with people who you think might need the funding. Connect them to this video so that they can get the valuable information from Vivian here, and also connect with Vivian. Leave a comment below. If you have more questions, send them to us. Also, let me know if you would like to get round 2 with Vivian. Send us your questions. It might be the case. Vivian, it's such a hot topic and people are in the dark about it, right? So thank you so much. And until next time, guys, and stay inspired. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.